Here's Anthony and Mike with an AMI This Week shortcut.
It's amazing how much of our sense of well-being is affected by what's going on where we live, even something as simple as an appliance breaking down.
Now imagine how it would feel to lose access to most of your home, including basic tasks like entering and exiting the home and flipping on the lights.
That's exactly what happened to Jim Ryan, and the story of how it happened and how he and his family adapted is incredible.
Vancouver's Grant Hardy traveled to Chilliwack, BC to meet Jim and learn more about his story.
Former WestJet pilot Jim Ryan and his wife Isabel were on a dream vacation in Hawaii when an accident on a Maui beach changed their lives forever.
Isabel and I decided to go in the water just to cool off, nothing spectacular. So we dove into the wave and I got twisted around and the wave drove my head into the sand and nothing moved. I was completely paralyzed at that instant.
Now a quadriplegic and wheelchair user, Jim relies on assistance to complete most daily tasks. But with his constantly evolving, accessible home, Jim uses technology to regain as much independence as possible, whether turning on the lights or checking the weather on his digital display.
So outside I have what's called an anemometer, and it's on the top of the fence and on an 8-foot pole on top of that. And it's literally a spinning windmill for the wind speed. And then it has a humidity and temperature readings as well. And it helps me when I look outside to know what's happening. As well inside, I don't know if I'm hot or cold.
Yeah.
I can control all my lights. I can run my TV, I use my computer. I have a lip sync made by the Neil Squire Society. That is a mouse you control with your mouth. And I can click on various things and then I can scroll and that way I can read the paper or a book.
For Isabel, adjusting to their new smart home had its challenges.
Initially, he was trying to go all electronic. But the fact is that I'm able-bodied, and my first reaction is to touch a switch. If I happen to turn off the kitchen light via the wall switch, what that would do, that would disconnect his whole access to them.
Hey Siri, turn on the counter lights.
Done.
How does that look?
Another hurdle, according to Jim's son Daniel, who is also a computer engineer, is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution that meets every one of Jim's needs. He gave me a tour of the do-it-yourself fix the family put together so Jim can get in and out of his home independently.
So the first piece is this, and it's just a key fob, and this is pretty much like a garage door opener. And you click a button and it opens the door for you. And that's all fine and great because it opens the door and holds it open for 12 seconds or so, and then shuts the door and the door locks and you're secure. That's great. However, Jim can't press a button. So then we have to solve that problem. And what we came up with was this piece. And this is basically a Wi-Fi servo motor. So it's just a piece of plastic and you can touch activate it and it drives a servo, and that servo pushes a button and that'll open the door. So what we did is we took this and we taped it together, and now you can press the servo and that presses the button and that opens the door. That's great. However, Jim still can't press this button, but this is Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So now there's an app you can download, and that app connects to this switch, and he can press the app through his wheelchair head array as we spoke earlier. So now we tape this together and we sync it to an app, and now he can wheel up to the door, he can come to a stop, open up the app on his phone with this head array.
Hey Siri, open push.
Press the button, which activates the switch, which drives the servo, which presses the button, which opens the door, and then he can go into driving mode and then drive in.
In the end, Jim says he couldn't have adjusted to his new life without the tremendous support he received.
My neighbor does all my home renovations, so they're here all the time trying to set up new pieces, 3D print. It's been tremendous. All those little pieces really make a difference.
Jim Ryan has such an amazing spirit, and he's an example of what you can accomplish if you're determined and have an incredible support system behind you.
Jim's recent achievements include receiving a 2018 Courage to Come Back Award this spring in the physical rehabilitation category, and becoming an ambassador with the Rick Hansen Foundation to educate others about his story and accessibility.
If you want to keep following the Ryan family story, Jim and his wife have a Facebook page called Jim Ryan Rolling Through Life, and his blog and podcast are at myquadriplegic.life.